Hello and welcome to Virtual Heritage Journeys. I'm a Chinese postgraduate student studying digital culture and communication at the University of Sheffield. In this podcast, I'll be sharing my personal reflections on exploring British cultural heritage through both digital platforms and physical experiences. As someone living far from home, I often rely on digital tools to connect with culture, history, and place. So, for my project in the digital cultural heritage model, I wanted to ask, can digital experiences feel as real and emotional as physical visits? To find out, I visited three places. I went to Weston Park Museum in Sheffield in person. I also explored the British Museum and the York Minster through online platforms like Google Arts and Culture and virtual tours. Let me start with Weston Park. What struck me most was the way the museum blends natural and urban heritage. I remember walking through rooms full of animal specimens, some beautifully preserved and displayed under soft lighting. Near a large window, I noticed a telescope installed indoors, inviting visitors to look outside towards the surrounding park. It felt like a seamless link between the museum's indoor storytelling and the natural landscape beyond. What made the experience even more immersive was the interactive technology. Screens showing videos, computers that allowed visitors to search local history and exhibits specifically. This feature made the museum feel alive, engaging, and deeply place-specific. I could explore the identity of the city I now live in, visually, emotionally, and intellectually. In contrast, my virtual visits to the British Museum and York Minster were informative but emotionally distant. Through the British Museum's online platform, I could easily find out where the artifacts came from, what historical period they belonged to, and how they were described by curators. For example, I browsed the Rosetta Stone, Egyptian mummies, and ancient Chinese bronzes. The images were clear, and the metadata was detailed. But even though I knew what I was looking at, I couldn't feel it. The virtual interface allowed me to zoom in to read about privacies, but the emotional impact was limited. I realized that no matter how many facts were displayed, they don't compare to the sense of awe you get when standing in front of the actual object. And the same thing happened when exploring York Minster online. I could appreciate its architecture in 360 degrees views, but I missed the silence, the heat of the ceilings, and the way light comes through the stained glass. It's not just about seeing, it's about being there, about princesses. These experiences helped me understand what we discussed in class about aura and authenticity. Virtual heritage is valuable for learning and access, but it can't fully replicate the emotional, atmospheric, and sensual qualities of being physically present. As a Chinese student, I also approached this place with a specific cultural lens. I found myself comparing how the UK and China present heritage, what is highlighted, what is left unsaid, and how narrative and identity are constructed. In Weston Park, the ability to search the city's past interactively reminded me of how important participatory storytelling is in cultural heritage today. I wasn't just a passive visitor, I was engaging, searching, connecting. That's something digital platforms can sometimes lack: real-time interaction, emotional pacing, and personalization. But podcasting, interestingly, sits in the middle ground. This brings me to the podcast medium itself. I choose it because it's intimate, personal, and simple to produce. Compared to visual media, podcasts rely on tone of voice, rhythm, and narrative to build meaning. The act of speaking, reflecting, and storytelling made me feel more connected to my topic. In a way, this podcast become part of the cultural practice it reflects upon. It's a form of digital heritage expression too. Through this process, I also started thinking more critically about who controls digital heritage and how that control shapes what we can know, feel, or question. I also thought about fair and care principles. Fair means making heritage easy to find and use. The British Museum does that very well. But just giving access isn't enough. Care focuses on respect, responsibility, and letting people from different backgrounds take part. That's what Weston Park allowed me to do: explore freely and create meaning myself. This made me think access is important, but participation is essential. Fear makes heritage visible, but care makes it respectful and meaningful, especially for people from different cultural backgrounds, having space to engage, not just observe. As someone navigating between cultures, I found podcasting itself to be a small way of reclaiming voice, of contributing to heritage as something lived, felt, and co created. In the end, making this podcast helped me understand digital heritage better. It's not just about facts, it's about feelings, memories, and personal stories. As someone living between two cultures, I found my own way to connect. Thank you for listening.